But I'm getting some ballots back, the envelopes without the return address up in the top left-hand corner, which doesn't let me identify who the person is. So I can't really check them off the checklist on the statewide. So by doing this on a weekly basis, I can have them opened up by a JP, 2 JPs. I can check them off the checklist, and that checklist will follow to the entrance checklist at voting. And we've got an accurate, up-to-date checklist that those who have returned them do not get another one that day. So every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, my 4 justices of the peace are going to alternate their days. It's open to the public if anybody wants to watch them, but they're to open them, we're to check them off the checklist. They slide it up. They've got directions as to how to do it, and they'll go into the ballot boxes. Oh, just that a little bit of an update for you.
Okay, Kim.
May I add to that, please? Okay, I put all that on the 2 sites, on the election site and the Grafton clerk site, the announcement site and the Grafton clerk site.
Yeah.
And
yes.
An explanation of what the processing is. On the second page of it, you'll see the definition of processing. So you can see what they're going to do every Tuesday. And everybody's welcome to come to those meetings. The schedule of the meetings are up there too on the website.
Okay, to the board, I talked to Kim, and Kim and I would like to start the budget process the first week in November. We tentatively decided that maybe we could do it on Thursday at a special meeting like we have done for the last 3 years. And in the previous budget years, we've basically had 3 meetings. We had 2 meetings, and then we had a final one in December. So depending on what happens, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can pick the dates. But just kind of put it into your calendars that we will start sometime in the first week in November.
Hey, Kim, how appraisal guys coming? I haven't had anybody that I know of down this way yet.
They were at my house.
Yeah, they're at my house.
My house.
I haven't had anything. Anybody here or no sticker or anything said that they were here.
You're talking about the appraisers?
Yeah.
They're taking sections of the town. So it depends. They were working from the outskirts and then to the inside, and I don't know as if they've been that way yet out towards the Cambridgeport area. They've been to your house, Kathy?
Yep. Yep. Did all of Parker Hill. And they leave a little yellow card if you're there.
Yeah. Right.
I haven't seen anything.
We'll have to ask Nancy the next time she's in tomorrow if they've been out that way.
Yeah.
Basically, all they're doing is measuring your
the outside.
outside.
And they'll ask you a few questions. You know, if you are there, they'll ask you how many baths, you know, if there's any updating to the cards. Nothing
They didn't ask
too
me.
major.
They didn't
They
ask
didn't ask me.
No.
I wasn't there, so they didn't ask me any questions. The yellow card was on the front door.
I haven't seen
Does
it.
anybody have any questions on the expenditure that I sent out? Of course, we're only a quarter of the way through the budget, so I'm not at my computer to bring it up, but it is something I can look up tomorrow if there's a specific line, or just give me a call if you're questioning any expense there. I'm moving right along on the digitization. So on October the 13th, a week from tomorrow, we should be live and up and running for researchers to go online. Once we're up and online, then it's up to me for the upcoming recordings to just automatically do it by digitizing and put it into what's called the record hub, and our researchers can then retrieve it that way for a small fee. So that's moving along very, very quickly. A little overwhelming. Other than that, that's all I have to add.
Anybody else? Anything for Kim?
Yeah, I have a question on the ballots. I had a gentleman that, I do the meals on Tuesday, and he asked me about the ballot, And I said, yeah, you fill it all out, make sure you fill it correctly, and you can drop it off or mail it in. And he says, well, I threw mine in the rubbish. Are you offering any help for some folks that have some difficulty filling
Yep.
those out, Kim?
Yep, what I can do is he can contact me. I can send him a new one, and along with it will be an affidavit in there that's just asking him to sign that he's thrown away his first one. And then he signs that and returns that back with his the new ballot.
Okay, he was going to retrieve it out of the rubbish, so I'll
Yeah,
check.
I can just replace it. It's not so much the ones that we're giving out. It's keeping track of the ones that are coming back. So I'm not receiving more than one from each individual.
Right.
Yep, that's not a problem at all.
Okay, thanks, Kim.
Anything else of Kim? Okay, let's move on to number 6, the brick meeting house used for public meetings. You received the information from Bill today. Has anybody received that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so basically Westminster and a few of them, they're having so-called live meetings now. And if it's okay with the board, we could use the brick meeting house and we could have live meetings, and we could have social distancing, and then we also could have the cameras, so that people who didn't want to attend in person could still attend in Zoom. And so it's up to the board. And I'd like to use the Bricket House for the upcoming negotiations the negotiations for the budget. But comment, please.
I like the idea.
Thing in there yet. They're coming.
What's coming?
Phone. There's no phone line or anything.
No, they're going to put the phone in a hard line and a internet. They have to anyway, Stan, because if they have a wedding, which they have wedding scheduled there, there might be people who would like to Zoom the wedding. So, and if they were going to offer the Wyndham Foundation or somebody to have a meeting there, if it's going to be used that way, they know they have to put it in. It's just a matter of there's a meeting coming up this week, and I think that they'll get it in, or make you.
It's not in yet, but it is scheduled October 12th to be put in.
Okay, all right, so we'll be fine then. Any other questions or comments?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a lot easier to do the budget.
Yeah, and I think we can have some meetings and more. Whoever doesn't want it can still come to Zoom, but at least we can be together again and have real meetings with real people.
Excuse me, it's Wendy, and I'd like to just be heard on this because I spoke about it at the BCA meeting.
Yep.
I just want to go on the record as saying I don't think town meetings should take place in a building that's owned by a private organization. I understand the election has to happen in November there. This is an emergency. It's not a normal situation, but I think it's a very bad precedent to set to have town public meetings, official town meetings in a private organization's building, especially one that people still call a church. I know that it's not supposed to be called a church, but people still do call it a church. And I know that a lot of normal stuff is going by the wayside these days, and I hate to see this kind of thing happening. So thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Any other comments? If not, is Tim going to be on yet, Bill? Because should we skip the?
Well, are you guys going to Are you going to make a decision on the brick building or no?
Yeah, we could have a motion. We could do that. Yes. Someone want to make a motion that we can use for our budget meetings?
So I just want to clarify exactly what meetings. I mean, this thing says use for town public meetings. I mean, that's pretty broad.
It's meant to be broad. And you can make your motion any way you want to make the motion.
I mean, what? No, I was just going by what Joe was saying was for the budget meeting. That's pretty specific.
Well, that would be the thing, and we could also do our select board meetings if the select board wants to go, face to face again. The building is also being offered to the Wyndham Foundation or any other individual who wants to use the building for any of their events. So I guess when it's for town or public meetings, I think that covers it. If they wanted to have a lecture in there, or they wanted to, Wyndham Foundation wanted to have their annual meeting in there, or whatever, it's available. Whether they choose to do it, it's another story.
I still don't have a problem other than no bathroom facility.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. With respect to Wendy's point, do we have any information whether there's an actual prohibition about having public meetings in a privately owned building, or if it's a best practice not to do that with respect to other with respect to the kind of laws that govern and regulations that govern our public meetings? I'm just not clear on, have we just as a town chosen not to have our meetings in privately owned buildings, or is there something more official and regulatory than that in effect?
I can't answer that question, but maybe Bill can.
I talked to the attorney about it, and the attorney says there's absolutely no reason why you can't have a public meeting in a private building.
So it would be nice if we could have a motion that we would, at least do the budget hearing, the budget workshops in there, and also for future select board meetings when and if we have that, decide to have them.
Well, I'll go ahead and make that motion to use the brick meeting place for public meetings, for town use, or public use.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion? And obviously, they would have to have, they would have to have Wi-Fi, and they would have to meet the requirements for any public meeting in order for it to happen. I don't know if that needs to be in the motion, but certainly it would certainly be a requirement. Any other discussion? If not, let's have a vote. So all in favor of using the brick meeting house for budget workshops and future select board meetings, if we can, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right. Village Park, Bill, should we bypass this until?
No, Tim's here now. Tim's
Oh, he
here.
is? Okay. Then where's Tim? Hi, Tim.
Right.
Yeah, Tim.
It's in your hands. Go ahead.
Okay. Bill, do you want to post the map while I'm talking, or
Sure.
I don't want to blow up the meeting with.
No,
No, I have it right here, ready to go.
Okay. Just for context.
Tim, if we control.
Doesn't want to
this,
behave. Wait a
okay.
second. There we go.
Bill, you look like you're at Nassau.
I am.
So,
I'd rather be at NASCAR though, but anyway.
well, while Bill's trying to cue that up, we finished marking out the harvest on the town property. It's roughly 35 acres of marking. And let me just call up my prospectus. The blue line you see on this map is the harvest boundary, and that would be marked with what we call a triple stripe. So if you're in the woods, you'd see 3 blue slashes following along that blue line. The white trail network is the flagged harvest trails that I've located. Some of them are using bits of previous trails, although not the whole thing, because a lot of the wood went in the past has either gone towards the pond or down over the bank to the south. And then a few other odd directions seem to have occurred over the centuries. This network is to bring everything down to the new landing that the crew constructed, the town crew. And underneath the white trails, you can see subimposed are the dashed black lines are the existing trail system and snowmobile trail. Middle of the hiking trail is possible, even though we intend to run. The goal or the objective is to have forwarders driving over the trail instead of skidding. We still wanted to minimize it. So, but there are a few places where we had to cross it to get to the landing, and there's a few spots where we had to run. We will have to run the forwarder on over the trail to get to the landing, though it would be in winter, so the impact should be minimal. The estimated volume marked is 115,000 board feet and 180 cords, primarily hemlock, white ash, and some other mixed woods, white pine and spruce as well. The timing is good for those woods. Softwood markets are very strong right now, as are ash markets. Some of the markets are down, but that's always the case. So we don't, it's probably not worth trying to play the market with wood. I think, and I set the minimum bid, and one of the reasons the minimum bid is low is because a third of the volume is hemlock saw timber, which typically is really steady. You can always sell hemlock and there's always a use for it, but the value is generally low. It hasn't, I was telling somebody today, my first timber sale in 1985, we got $25 a thousand for hemlock. And on this minimum bid 2020, I'm setting the minimum at $35 a thousand. So that's pretty small growth, but there's always a demand for it. So the minimum bid, and this is a lump sum sale, minimum means this is the least amount of money we would take for the wood that is set out to be cut, is, let me get down to it, should be roughly $14,300 is the minimum. Generally, we receive more than the minimum bid. How much more than the minimum depends on the quality of the lumber or the logs and the access and the logging conditions. I wouldn't want to say what I think it would go over for, because in a public forum, I could be accused of influencing bidding. I've set the time period for 20 months to allow for 2 winters. I've set the condition for winter only. I have said that we will not allow whole tree harvesting or grapple skidders or slashers or chippers. So in an effort to keep the noise down and to limit the impacts to both the landing and the woods, I've got conditions that are the same ones I used in the Bella Falls High School forest a number of years ago to limit the size of the equipment and to be certain we have what's called a cut to length system. So most of the wood will be moved on a forwarder rather than a skidder. I've required tops within 25 feet of recreational trails locked to the ground, and the remaining area no greater than 4 feet in height. Down to some of the other special conditions. Let me just get to the highlights. I already talked about the equipment limitations and the size. The weight restriction on cable skidders and bulldozers is 24,000 pounds, forwarders 40,000 pounds, and cutters 50,000. No large slash greater than 2 inches left within 25 feet of designated trails either side. Machine roots will have brush felled rather than pushed over before use. Trees can be skidded or hauled perpendicular to trails, minimal, but not on trails unless no other options exist. Town of Grafton reserves the right to prescribe and impose any operating constraints or conditions deemed necessary to prevent damage to the residual stand. I think I'm going to add something right now, which would be and ground surface, comma, trails and ground surface. And then I propose when we close the area to recreation while the operation is going, except for snow machines. which was at a request of in the previous meeting. These are construction zones, generally not a good place for people to be walking around. Then due to proximity to a village, and these are all debatable, but they seem prudent. No truck products will be allowed between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. on weekdays and from 5 p.m. on Friday to 3 p.m. on Sunday or any legal holiday. There's two small patch clear cuts. They were smaller than I'd like, but it's a small place. And there's lots of constraints. So everywhere you turn around, you run into a big chunk of ledge or a hiking trail. So I have two that are just slightly under an acre in size up on the side of the hill, a little bit of ways from the trail. And then the landing would have to be cleaned back down to the original material and any exposed soil seeded and mulched at close. Those are the highlights. I can do the showing when you're ready for me, when you feel it's what you want in the prospectus. Generally, we like to give 10 days notice on the showing. So I'd want to be doing it sometime in October. I have a bid list that I sent Alan that we used. We use our general bid list, which is quite large. There's 125 different operators from all over the state. And then I had a smaller bid list I used on a forwarder only sale at Downer last year, which was about 10 people. That added a few people who aren't normally on our list. What I would propose is we use those two bid lists with the restrictions right up front about equipment. So that would prevent folks from showing up that aren't suitable for the job. But oftentimes if they want to do a job, they'll rent the equipment that we're requiring. So I don't want to exclude them. And then any individuals that are not on either list from your local community that you would like to have. And then the third, probably the most important question, is how you want to award the bid. Typically for us, the bid is awarded to the highest bidder. On occasion, I have other requirements. I have occasionally done sales where we award the bid based on a number of different criteria with a scoring system. It gets fairly complicated and seems to scare some bidders away. So we can either say it's based on price, which is implied. We don't actually have to state it out loud in the prospectus, or some combination of price, suitability to the ground conditions, and availability, which would put the final decision in the hands of the select board. Having said that, it's a little bit of a sensitive thing. You have to be careful how you use it, because if you have generally we go to more broader criteria only when the bids are close. That would be our typical approach. And I think that matches what you did at actually at the stump dump sale as well. That is my summary, and I'm open for questions or comments.
Tim, this cut sounds to me like it's more of a benefit to the forest than getting any money out of it. So it's fine with me.
Okay.
The only question I had for Tim was on the map itself, you show about an acre, but on the prospectus, you show about 2 acres of patch cut.
Well, it could simply be a good old-fashioned mistake, but it also could be that I was rounding up. I have 2 patch cuts. I can't see the map anymore.
0.7 and
Wait a minute, it'd be right up, just a second.
right.
Yeah, that comes out to 1 acre. So I'm gonna have to check that.
Yeah.
I'm actually wondering, when I did the GPS traverse around these on the 0.3 one, I had really bad signal. And on the bottom one, the bottom of the north part of the boundary did not record on the GPS unit. So I'm gonna actually tomorrow on my way to both of those, and I'll make sure that the prospectus and the map match. And in those patch cuts, I'm requiring everything that is 6 feet tall or taller to be severed, and unless it has a red stripe on it. And the reason is that I picked that area because we're trying to establish openings with good regeneration for a future forest, and both of those areas have very poor understory. And so by clearing the whole patch, you'll get a fresh start with a different mix of species.
So you're not going to leave any kind of mass trees or anything in there for,
There are a number of red oaks on the edges of these, as well as within, that are marked with the red stripe. So we have a good component of red oak retained on the harvest, and some of the black cherry as well, but not all of it.
Any other questions of Tim?
I was pretty impressed with the prospectus. I thought that was very well written.
Yeah, nice job, Tim.
Yeah, I ought to know what I'm doing by now. I'm 57.
So Tim, what do you expect us? Do you want us to approve this now today, or do you want us? How do you want to? How would you recommend we? Or what would you like to see happen?
Well, what I would like you to do is follow whatever your normal bidding procedure is. If that's just, if it's just you simply saying, yeah, keep moving, that's fine. If you feel like you have to have a vote, it's really up to you. I feel enabled to do it at this point. I just want you to make sure you follow your own bidding procedure.
Well, I think we already approved going forward. The question now is, how do you want to proceed with the bidding and stuff?
Well,
Can I suggest something?
See what happens to the bids, right?
Can I suggest something? That Tim and I go over it, whether, and then I can put it out. I'll put out what Tim wants, but he and I go over that together and make sure everything is correct, and then I can send it out, or Tim, you can send me the corrected copy and I'll send out and put it out to bid. But I just wanted, there's a couple things I just wanted to ask him about, and then we could just then follow the normal procedure. And I think if we put it out to the bidding list, I'd like to have a motion on that. If we put it out to the bidding list, it sounds like it's really extensive, that would be enough, and we would not have to put it out, publish it in a newspaper, which might be pretty worthless anyway.
And there's no newspaper.
Those are my questions.
Chair, may I ask a question, please?
Kathy? Yes.
No, it's Sue.
Oh, Sue.
Thank you. So I have two questions for the select board and one for Tim. For the select board, would it be possible to publish in a way that we can really know the date for the showing? I had mentioned this in the last meeting that I believe it was the stump dump. We were invited, public was invited to the showing. So that's question number one. Question number two is, at what point will the prospectus be made a public document so that we can take a look at it? And my third question for Tim is, with respect to the hemlock, Tim, there's a beautiful grove in the village park. It's got a very cathedral-like feeling with these hemlock trees. In fact, I think it's called the Hemlock Grove. I have not and will not be able to go up into the village park because of my injury. What are those hemlocks scheduled to be harvested?
I don't know where that is. I'm guessing it's within the harvest boundary, and in the hemlock areas, I'm harvesting roughly a third of the trees.
So not all of the trees.
No, the only place where all of the trees are being cut are in those two small patch cuts. It will look different. Everything is going to look different, but nothing will look like a clear cut except those two small clear cuts.
Well, to answer your questions, Sue, once the select board, gets a motion to accept the bids, this becomes a public document. I mean, I think it's a public document right now, as far as I'm concerned, unless Bill, you disagree.
No, it's a public document.
Yeah, it's a public document.
So where can it be found, Bill? Where can it be found?
I'll put it on the website under well, let's see where I'll put it. I'll put it under the select board on the website.
Okay, perfect.
And as far as
anybody can walk up there. I spent 45 minutes there today.
Yeah,
Several people have walked through. All of them are impressed with the limited amount of cutting, but how beautiful it's going to be, because there's some gorgeous big, huge trees that you now will be able to see. You can't see the trees for the forest right now. It's so beautiful up there. So
Yeah,
it's going to
it
be
is.
really, really. Karen Knight had walked through, and she initiated the conversation with me how beautiful it's going to look. So yeah, it's going to be great.
And also, Suze, there's no reason why, as soon as Tim tells us when the viewing is going to be, there's no reason why it can't be published. And anybody who wants to participate or go there, you're certainly welcome.
Yeah, I think that would be great, Joe. If we could just know when the showing's going to be, if the public could be made aware of that, that would be an ideal time to go.
Before we go too far down this road, a couple things. As far as the marking in the woods, I hope everybody recognizes that there's red maple, white birch, ash, and aspen will be cut unless they're marked with a red stripe, which means they're retained. So in some places where you see a lot of low-grade, poor-quality red maple trees, even though they don't have paint on them, they will be cut. So there will be small openings in those places. Two, we have a COVID restriction on showings, and I'm going to follow my state procedure, which is no more than 10 people on a showing.
Yeah, of course.
So if we do it by invite now. So actually, it's preferable that people not simply show up at the showing. Because that would put me in an awkward position.
That's a very good point, Tim. I hadn't thought of that. I'll just make arrangements to somehow go up there before the showing. I think you're very prudent and really have no other choice but to follow the COVID guidelines. Sorry, I didn't think of that before I asked the question.
I'm happy to go out there with you if you want to email me. We can set up a date and I can show you how it's gonna go.
Oh, I will definitely take you up on that. Okay. Thank you.
And then let's see, there was a third thing, COVID showing. I guess that's it. Oh, and the prospectus is a draft right now. I'd rather not put it on the web yet because I still gonna have to change. There's a lot of references to the state this, the state that has to be changed to the town, and that hasn't been
correct.
Done.
Yeah, correct, Tim. That's why I wanted you and I to go over it.
Yeah, well, you and Bill are going to get together, and once you get it corrected, then we'll put it up on the website.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So I guess we have a motion to start the bidding process. Is that what we need?
That's all you need.
Okay, so somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Kathy, second. John made the motion. Kathy seconded. Bill. Any further discussion? So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, good. All righty. Well, thanks, Tim, for your great job here. And if Suze wants to take the thing, you guys can get together and figure out when you want to take the hike. So.
Righto. Yep. Okay. My pleasure.
Right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. The next item is the Constable Planning Commission Tree Warden. The constable is we don't need to discuss it. The constable is going to continue for another year, so that's not an issue. The Planning Commission, the article ran in the Grafton News, so all we have to wait is for somebody to put their name in with the Planning Commission. And the tree warden, nobody's come forward, so there's really nothing we can really do until somebody comes forward either for the Planning Commission or the tree warden.
I just wanted it advertised that we need.
Yeah, that's all. Just so we know. As you saw, the Grafton News, the Planning Commission, there was an article by Dave Culver. So let's see who shows up, who wants to be on the commission. The next thing is the cemeteries. I don't know. Has everybody seen the land that's available on Whole Ranch Road and Cobb and Stage Road?
Yeah.
Does everybody have that?
Yes.
Has everybody been out there?
I have been out there.
Well, my suggestion is that I think it's a great place. We'd have to figure out how we can subdivide some of this property because I don't think the town needs more than 3, 4, 5 acres. But I think what we should do before we say do anything, I think everybody should view the site so you know what we're talking about. And Galen, do you have any comment about this at all? No.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
No, I'm free to discuss it, whatever you guys want to suggest. I had some ideas. I talked with Don Lawrence at one a few years ago, just on the idea of expanding that cemetery someday. But there's a couple of ways to do it. I haven't heard what you would like to do, so there's a couple of ways to play it. But we could just talk it over and see what looks good for you.
Well, Galen, I think the first thing to do is to see if we can make the deal and get the land, and then obviously to find out which is the best way and where the cemetery should go and how you want to handle it.
Yeah. Do you know if the owner wants to do the whole thing as one deal for you?
Bill,
She wanted to sell a piece, right?
Bill, didn't you talk to them? They want the whole thing, or they want to? Are they willing to subdivide?
The lady who owns it, Caitlin Barclay, wants to sell all 21 acres.
That's right.
Galen and I have talked. Galen and Don Lawrence had talked earlier, and Don liked the property across the street from the cemetery, which is on Galen's property. If we can work out some, and the other the other interesting point up there is that there's several abutting neighbors who need acreage in order to go into the current use program. So though it sounds really complicated, if we can get everybody together, it isn't that complicated. And that is take a part, if we were to take the land on Galen's property, 3-4 acres, whatever you guys decide you want to do, take out of the Barclay property the same 3 or 4 acres so that he keeps enough to be in current use. He needs the equal amount in his property. And then maybe the balance of the Barclay property somebody else will want. And then those people, somebody will buy that land along with us, the Barclay land, and it'll all be split up. Now, that's way too complicated to even talk about right here, but there's a whole bunch of things that could be done. But the biggest thing is everybody go out and see if you want the cemetery there and it as an extension on the same side of the road or on the other side of the road. Let's decide that first, and then we can work with the rest. But the one thing we do have is that Mrs. Barclay said she would sell it for the assessed value, but she wants to sell all of it. That's the only thing we do know.
So mine would suggest that who hasn't been out there, go take a look and we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting and hopefully start the process.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, if there's one other thing I want you to talk about, is there any interest in the Holtonville property? I want to get back to that person.
I think yes.
Well, Joe has looked at it and doesn't think it's very good, John.
What's that, right back to the cemetery?
No, Cabell and Hinckley. Is that the one you're talking about?
I'm talking about her property. No. Okay, the Corelli property, I don't think anybody's interested in. Next, off of Hinckley Brook, right? No one cares about that.
That's
right?
The next thing.
Okay, all right. But what we're talking about is Holtonville Cemetery extension. The lady said that she would give you some land to extend the cemetery, or she'd be interested in talking about it. Probably not going to deal with us, but she'd be interested in talking about the land next to the cemetery at Holtonville.
Right. You should talk to her because it's right back to the existing cemetery.
Oh, okay.
And it borders the other people where the road comes in.
Okay. So you want me to tell her to go ahead, and who is it that wants to discuss it with her?
Well, Stan and I are on that committee, so if she's willing, and Stan is willing, we would be able to meet her, and then she could indicate what property we want or what she wants to give us, and then we can bring it back to the board.
Okay, I got that. Okay. Now, the Corelli property is the other one on Hinkley Brook. No one's interested in that, right?
No.
Okay. I'll tell her no. Okay.
The adjacent landowner should be interested.
Yeah, that would be the only way that would work.
Well, I'm going to talk to the adjacent landowners and have them talk to her if they can.
So my suggestion then is take a ride out to the Holtonville Cemetery area, and I believe it's on. If you're looking at the cemetery from the road, It's on the left-hand side, I believe. So take a look at that, and then drive up to Hall Ranch Road and take a look at the Cobb Cemetery and see what everybody thinks is, if we could get it, which would be a better option.
Mhm.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got the Hinkley Brook is done. The CIC report. I haven't read it.
It's long.
It's very long.
Well, I fell asleep reading it, but I did talk to the attorney after I fell asleep reading it. And the main thing he wanted you to take away from that is that you've done everything right and there is no exposure. And the only thing we need to do, and is Rich still on? Yeah, Rich, is if you notice somebody going in there, we will give them the entire report and make sure as you hand it to them that they understand it.
Hello?
You there?
I can't hear you, Bill.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Rich, can you hear me?
So,
Rich?
can you hear me, Bill?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yep.
Okay. So what the attorney said is we don't have any exposure. However, we have that report, and if you notice anybody moving in there, or if anybody notices anybody moving there, or hears about somebody interested in moving in there, we need to talk to them, even if that's a month after they move in. As soon as we find out that they're there, take them the report, hand it to them, and point it and tell them the air is unsafe in this building until something is done. We're giving you the warning of that, and that's the end of our liability. Okay, because the state isn't doing anything.
Hey, Bill, how much did that report cost us?
$5,000.
5,000? Unbelievable. I started reading it, and I didn't read the whole thing, but I read enough of it, and because I'm pretty acquainted with that property, that half the stuff in there is not even right.
Well,
I don't know where they got the information from.
Those are all from public records.
The most
important part about that whole thing, though, is what happened since 2017 or 18, when they started to inspect that thing, and we're doing the surface reports. Those are the most important thing, leading up to the end where they check the health of the indoor air, and it's not healthy. Now, the rest of the stuff, John, let's correct anything, let's correct it now and get it back to him. That's why it's a draft report. That's why I told him that he needed to give it to us in draft.
Yeah, my suggestion, John, is to either meet with Bill or meet with the attorney or both, and let's get rid of the stuff that's not true or believe.
I don't think I got time to go through 255 pages of that and point out what's wrong and what's right.
No, it's 22 pages, John.
The one I had was a lot longer than that.
That's all records. That's all records.
I know, but some of those records are not even close to being right.
That has nothing to do with the attorney.
Well, who put that on who wrote that up?
All those records are documents they collected from others.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Okay, I just have a question about the status of the CIC property with respect to the property owner. Could I please understand from this report why it is up to the town to be responsible to, track down whoever comes in the building, whoever tries to rent the building, whatever, and hand them this report? What is the responsibility of the property owner?
To do a heck of a lot more than that, but we're covering our own butt. That's all we're doing.
So is it up to the property owner to notify the town when?
Oh yeah, he's Suzanne. He is not going to tell anybody. If they were going to die the next day, he is not going to tell them. Okay, that's just a matter of fact.
Rich, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it's a little bit premature. Probably put me on the agenda for next select board meeting. but they are starting the mitigation phase down there, and I should have a little more information for you
Okay.
at your next meeting. And just for entertainment value, maybe, she's still in business somewhere, even though she's sworn a stack of Bibles that she wasn't, because some chemicals turned up to be delivered there the other day.
Oh, my.
So she's still in business somewhere. I contacted who I should have contacted, but nobody ever followed up with the whole thing. So it's not our problem. It's some other community's problem, I suppose. But there's no real interest from any powers, in my opinion, to really hunt it down and try to find out what the story is. So
Okay, so do I understand, Rich, you want to be on the next meeting's agenda for this thing?
I should have more information for you at that point.
Well,
Yes.
check with Bill, and if you're ready, we'll put you on the agenda for the next.
Okay.
meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. All righty. Any
And,
other
and we'll
comments?
probably put it on, we'll probably go into executive session on it.
Yeah. So any other comments on the CIC report before we move on? Okay,
There is one other thing.
go ahead.
I got to get back to the state. After telling me I had no authority over the floodplain, I'm now hearing from the attorney, and I read in that report that they tell me I do have authority. So I'm going to write back to John and tell him that we're going to enforce the floodplain. I'm going to kick that logger out of there, or get him out of the floodway anyway. I'm going to kick him out. So and I just want to let you guys know that that's going to happen as soon as I hear back from John Boker County. I was told I had no authority, that was a state floodplain, but now I'm told by the attorney that I do have authority, and therefore I'm going to enforce it and get that logger out there. He should not be there.
Just for my own information, Bill, because I come across things being town health officer. How are you going to enforce that?
I'm just going to tell him that he is not allowed there, and and that he has to get out of there immediately. That's all. He's in the floodway.
Every time I try to do exactly the same thing to different situations, being town health officer, most of the time it falls on deaf ears.
Yeah, that's okay, but the floodplains are self-executing, and if they don't do it, then we just take them out of the flood insurance pool. They can't have flood insurance on the whole damn building. So there you are. He ain't going to do anything building anyway. This way, he'll never be able to sell it. So that until he gets rid of the violation. So there you are.
Well, they still haven't hooked up the fire suppression system in there, nor the fire alarm, and he still has a couple of tenants. So it's almost unbelievable.
Let's talk about during the week. Maybe just put a yellow ribbon around the whole damn thing.
Well, we've waited so long at this point. Let's give it a couple more weeks. Something should come to light very shortly.
If you read that report very carefully and all the way to the end, I know it's 20 pages, take a cup of coffee and read the whole thing. You're going to find out the state does not care. None of the state cares.
They don't care about anything. So what's the difference?
No.
They don't care about.
They don't care about hazmat. They don't care about fire. They don't care about nothing. They don't care about anything.
All right. Well, that's something we can't control. But Rich, when you're ready, let Bill know,
Okay.
and we'll deal with. We'll put you on the agenda. We'll have an executive session situation. Okay.
Fair enough.
All righty. Other business, Stan, you had something that you want to talk about, town hall?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to bring up is I just got something today. We had talked about timing to do the spray foam insulation because the gas is off. And we talked about the possibility of doing weekend work. So I asked for what it would cost, what the premium would be to do it over a weekend. In other words, like a Saturday afternoon. It would increase the cost of the entire job $521. I don't have any exact details. I tried to get back to him today. Well, I got back to him, but he never got back to me as far as details and dates and things like that. But I didn't know if we wanted to at least give a tentative okay or not. If we don't spend the $521, and obviously it's a Monday through Friday, which creates a bit of a situation for the post office and the town hall itself, as far as nobody being in the building for 24 hours for the gas off. So I'm just wondering if we wanted to at least give the okay to $521 additional for the weekend, or try to work around it somehow.
Well, there's no way to work around it, Stan.
Well, I know. I'm just giving
So,
that.
I mean, I think just do it and get it done with. We keep going back to the board, and I think the board has told us to get it done. And let's do it.
Yeah, you can't shut the post office down, so you have no choice, really.
I just,
Yeah, bite the bullet, pay it.
okay,
Right, it.
works for me. Okay,
Do we have any other business?
I think you make a motion on that, please.
Okay. Stan, somebody want to make a motion that we increase, that we do it on the weekend with an additional cost of $500?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Alrighty. Any other business? If not, do we have any public comment? Okay. Alrighty. So the next meeting is at 6 p.m. on October 19 via Microsoft Teams.
Wait a minute, do you want to have it at the Brick Church if it's ready?
I don't think it'll be ready because
He said the 12th.
I don't know, but yeah, but what they say, what they do is two different things. Stan, you might know better than that. You know, people promise, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen.
Okay. No, that's okay, because I got to test the thing out, so.
Yeah, no,
wait
I
till
think we
November.
we have it at the regular meeting, the 19th, just like we're doing, and then we'll see what happens. Okay? All right?
and I can find out definitively on the 12th. That's when they're supposed to be in there. But if they have the right equipment and make it all work, who knows? So
Who knows? Exactly.
That's good. Okay.
Okay. All right. So thank you for everybody for attending and being here, and our guests, and everybody have a good day. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Adjourn. Try to make a motion.
I'll make
Yeah,
them.
so now we need a motion to adjourn.
Dan just did. I second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Great meeting. Appreciate it. Good
Okay.
night.
And we'll set an hour of Suzanne's record here. Lights out.
My daughter is at the hospital where Trump is, and he just left in Marine One. So now you'll know.
Okay.
You'll be the first to hear.
I feel so much safer. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night. See you, Kathy.
See you.